world of Hyracanum is a disk world orbited by 7 moons, known as the Seven Sisters. All the water in the world comes from the aquiliths, which are titanic mountains at the center of the landmass, whose tops are open portals to the elemental plane of water. They are the source of every river that feeds into every lake, and ultimately the outward ocean that surrounds the landmass. The outward ocean pours off the edge of the disk in an endless waterfall. Each day, the sun is launched from a cannon called the sun gun in the far eastern firmament. As it hurtles over the disk, it singes a 400-mile-wide band across the middle, known as the equatorial desert. The underside of the disk is the inverted world, a frozen, sunless realm lit only by the infernal glow of the molten zone at its center, thousands of square miles of volcanoes blasting eternally into space. The inverted world is known to have many portals to the lower planes. Hyracanum was willed into existence by the 12 creator gods as an arena to battle out their differences of alignment. Before they could populate the world, however, dragons spontaneously manifested from all of the raw magic left over from the creation and assumed the world was theirs. Disturbed by this turn of events, the gods created giants in their image to take control of the world and subdue the dragons. Unfortunately, the giants proved too willful to control and decided to take the world for themselves. Dragons, being the most arrogant creatures to ever exist, fought back by creating dragonborn and kobolds in a master-slave caste system to counter the giants. Thus, civilization was born. Dragonborn cities sprang up around pyramids built by the cult of the dragon, where sacrifices would be left at the top for the local dragons to swoop in and take. Outnumbered, giants turned to creating more of their own kind. Ettins, ogres, and trolls for fighting, dwarves for mining and crafting. The dwarves, carved from stone and brought to life by stone giants, reproduce in much the same way today. There are no male or female dwarves, yet humans assume they are all male on account of their magnificent facial hair. However, just as the giants proved too willful for the gods to control, dwarves proved too willful for the giants. Moradin was the first dwarf to break his chains and is now considered their monotheistic god, wandering the Underdark forever, aiding dwarven kind. Frustrated by this arms race, the gods created humans to try and exert control of their world once again. Like the giants, they were made in their image, but much smaller this time so they would be more easily punished if they got out of line. Humans went on to usurp the civilization built by the Dragonborn. However, just like the giants before them, humans proved too willful to control. And this is because humans know all too well they are just the playthings of the gods, created for their entertainment. And even though everyone owes their existence to the gods, not all humans worship or even respect them. In fact, some humans are devoted to the cult of the dragon. All this time, elves, gnomes, and other fae had been stealing over to Hyracanum from Elfland, which is my version of the Feywild, based very much on Lord Dunsany's The King of Elfland's Daughter. Elves and gnomes are fae in my game, and live in Elfland, only ever visiting Hyracanum when they use fae crossings in the hour before sunrise or the hour after sunset, when conditions between the worlds match. Elfland, also known as the Forever Forest, is a limitless woodland in perpetual twilight, with no fixed geography or time as we know it. Any part of Elfland is within reach of a long walk and a nap, which in game terms would be a day's march followed by a long rest. However, you would need a fae guide to find your way in the eternal gloom of Elfland, and not all fae can be trusted. The reason is that the fae are almost always chaotic in alignment. They are ruled by Titania, Queen of Fairies, and Oberon, King of Shadows, who are very much inspired by William Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream. They are contentious lover rivals who could create any fae with the wave of their hands, but their preferred method is to steal human children from Hyracanum, bring them to Elfland, and see what kind of fae they turn into. The process is irreversible. Once done, the child is lost forever to the world of the fairies. Halflings came to be when the king and queen of Elfland sent 12 elf maidens to marry 12 human kings in a bid to foster goodwill between worlds. Fae beauty and human lust gave rise to many half-elf children. However, they were non-fae and not welcome in Elfland, so they coupled with humans, and the result was a diminutive species that were incompatible with either elf or human. These halflings decided to make their homes in bucolic shires, which were more suited to their own proportions than human civilization. There are 2 major religions in Hyracanum, the Temple of the Creator Gods and the Cult of the Dragon. Though generally adversarial, there are places where they can get along. An emerging religion, the Church of Dean, does not have such an enlightened approach. It is a monotheistic tradition which asks what created the creators and seeks to worship that power instead. Their God pervades the universe and would be equivalent to the positive material plane, but the religion itself is lawful neutral in the extreme, obsessed with control at any cost. They are overwhelmingly responsible for crusades, inquisitions, and all that kind of stuff. Finally, there are death cults, but they are outlawed everywhere and have very few members. Death as an entity is neutral, interested only in collecting souls regardless of alignment. Death cults, however, are always evil. They seek the power of death, which is the power to end life, and death rewards them with divine grace. Speaking of death, the dead hate the living. The undead in my game are always evil, pure and simple. They are powered by the negative material plane. They are immune to poison, but holy water affects them the same way as acid. Undead also have resistance or immunity to necrotic damage, depending on if they are corporeal or non-corporeal. Orcs in my game are a viral menace, made, not born. There is a black magic ritual known to certain wizards, warlocks, and sorcerers by which they can take a human male, put him through a process of torture and magic to create something savage and bestial, a parody of toxic masculinity fit only for the battlefield. It only works on men. There are no female orcs. If there are orcs in an area, it is because there is an ambitious wizard with plans of conquest who can take captured men and turn them into more orcs. I use the 2024 Player's Handbook for character class and species. However, I only allow Dragonborn, Dwarf, Elf, Gnome, Halfling, and Human, and I do not allow multiclassing. I've also developed or adopted certain house rules over the years. Number 1, we always roll initiative every round. This reflects the shifting fortunes of combat, which is not an orderly dance where we all take our turns. 2, when your initiative comes up, you have 10 seconds to decide what to do. I like to keep the game moving and other players are waiting for their turn. 3, critical hits deal either maximum regular damage or roll double the dice, player's choice every time. 4, non-corporeal and extraplanar creatures are immune to non-magical attacks and weapons. Supernatural threats require supernatural solutions. If you want to know more about the kinds of adventures you can have in my game, check out my website, www.anarchistrationale.com, where I keep detailed histories of all of my D&D campaigns. Adventures in my game tend toward epic heroic fantasy in a high magic setting. Role-playing and rules lawyering take a back seat to action and adventure. If that sounds like fun, you're welcome to join.